Morning, everyone. Welcome to the July 25th, 2023 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you are with us. And for those watching online, we're also glad you're checking in with us today. We'll begin, as we always do, with an invocation. So if you please join me by standing. Dear Heavenly Father, please look over us as we make best decisions for our county as possible. Please watch over our community. Please bless our first responders, our healthcare professionals. Watch over our men and women in uniform, both here and abroad. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Starks?
Here.
Magistrate Berry?
Here.
Magistrate Putman?
Here.
Magistrate Tompkins?
Here.
Magistrate Southern?
Here.
Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the July 11th, 2023 Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Judge, I move to accept as written.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other corrections, clarifications, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You see on your agenda that we were scheduled to have a rocket docket presentation from Commonwealth's Attorney Herb McKee. He has asked that we postpone that. He got really busy with the trial, and he will be back to visit us soon to give us more information on that. We have a few ordinances to have second readings on. And if the court would allow, since we've already had first reading, in order to save Kurt some time and effort, if you wouldn't mind if you just read the summary of each before we take vote on second reading.
I would
Is that
appreciate
acceptable?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are not exciting reading. But we will begin with the first and work through the other second readings, and thank you for the forbearance for Kurt's sake.
Ordinance number 23-07, ordinance amending Article XX, M1 Light Industrial District to add solar energy systems as a conditional use in said zone, and repealing and replacing Article XXX, solar energy systems of the Henderson County zoning ordinance found in the Henderson County Code of Ordinances in Appendix A thereof.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On to the next one. Electrical permit fees.
Ordinance number 23-08, an ordinance amending the electrical permit fee schedule.
Any questions about that? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
This is ordinance number 23-09, an ordinance reapportioning magisterial districts pursuant to KRS 67.045.
Any questions about that?
Move to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, so here we are with, we reviewed the construction permit fees and wanted to accomplish a couple things. We wanted to make sure that we addressed the idea of, stated in KRS, that we cannot charge more for inspections and permits than they actually cost us to provide. And with solar farms coming in there's a question about what that will entail, but in our former configuration, the cost was going to be 1% of total construction value, and that would have been millions of dollars. So that was probably going to be not something we could sustain or at least justify. So you'll notice that this does a couple things. It also, including that, contemplating a maximum fee of $500,000 on any project. It also simplified the existing permitting structure. If you remember, we talked about mirroring what the state does when it inspects construction projects, doing it per cents per square foot. And if you'll read the fee schedule, you remember their commercial rate, I believe, was 16 cents per square foot. We would be mirroring that. Single-family residential, 15 cents per square foot. We'd be mirroring that. And then we worked with Randy Tass to work through the remaining fees, structural remodel and repair, change of use, commercial exhaust to demolition, commercial signs, all the things we were inspecting in the past that tend to have different fees. Some of the, a little bit, not much rhyme or reason there. We made them all uniform, $50. And appreciate Randy's help with working through that, and hopefully this schedule makes it very easy to understand, very streamlined, makes Randy's job a little bit easier in determining some of these factors. So again, Randy, thank you, and Steve, thank you very much for helping work through that. So to me, this does two things. It keeps us on the right side of KRS with our total that we can charge for any project, and it also streamlines the process and streamlines the price list for these other inspections. Anybody have any questions or thoughts? I hope you had a chance to look through them. We talked about them previously. So unless there's any discussion, we can have first reading. Okay.
An ordinance relating to the county building permit and inspection fees and repealing and replacing the prior ordinances relating thereto, defining and establishing fees for various occupancy uses and setting minimum and maximum therefore. Whereas KRS 198B.0609 requires each local government enforcing the Kentucky Building Code, KBC, to issue a building permit if the proposed building satisfies the requirements of the KBC, and to inspect the building during construction to determine whether the building is constructed in compliance with the KBC. And whereas KRS 198.06013 requires that no building on which construction was begun or nor any industrialized building system on which site preparation and assembly were begun after the Uniform State Building Code became effective shall be occupied until the local building official or representative of the department issues a certificate of occupancy certifying that the building was constructed in conformance with the standards of the Uniform State Building Code or assembled in conformance with applicable instructions. And whereas KRS 198B.16018 authorizes each local government to establish a schedule of fees which are designed to cover the cost of the service performed, but not to exceed it. And whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court has not revised its building permits fees since July 2000, and it is in the best interest and general welfare of Henderson County to revise its building permit fees. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the Fiscal Court of Henderson County, Commonwealth of Kentucky as follows. Number one, both the 2000 Henderson County ordinance relating to building permit fees and Section 101-4 of the Code of Ordinances of Henderson County are hereby repealed in their entirety and replaced with the following. Section 101-4, permit and fees. A, fees. The building permits for which include the cost of inspection shall be as follows. Number one, commercial and industrial, 16 cents per square foot. Single-family residential, 15 cents per square foot. Structural remodel and repair, $50. Change of use, $50. Solar panel, 16 cents per square foot. Wind turbine, $1 per linear foot. The total height shall be measured from the ground to the top of the structure. Commercial exhaust hood, $50. Demolition, $50. Commercial signs, $50. The definitions of commercial and industrial. The terms commercial and industrial shall include but not limited to both new structures and additions to the following occupancy types as defined by the Kentucky Building Code: assembly, business, industrial factories, institutional, high hazard, educational, daycare centers, mercantile, storage, production greenhouses, utility, and miscellaneous. Term residential shall include but not be limited to both new structures and additions to the following occupancy types as may be defined in the Kentucky Building Code: single-family dwellings, duplexes, apartments, manufactured homes, garages, carports, storage buildings, in-ground pools, and accessory structures. Number 3, undefined terms. In the event of a term is not defined herein, then the definitions contained are applicable to the Kentucky Revised Statutes, Chapter 198B, 815 KAR 7120, and 815 KAR 7120 shall apply. C, the waiver of fee of permit fee is waived if the building is replacing a residential structure that was damaged or destroyed due to a fire. Minimum fee, the minimum building permit assessed shall be $50. The maximum fee, the above notwithstanding, the maximum permit fee shall be assessed to be $500,000. Repeal, all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herein are repealed to the extent of such conflict. Severability, the provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable, and if any section, phase, or provision of any reason shall be declared invalid, such declaration of validity shall not affect the validity of the remainder of the ordinance.
A motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, I'll have Kenny Garrett, if you want to come up. We have an annual memorandum of agreement requirement of our EMA office. You want to add any context to this, Kenny, again?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Every year we have to do an update of our emergency operations plan, and there's 15 chapters. So we go through and we cover all that and just kind of go through and make sure that all the updates are done and all the contacts are right, so that when something happens, we have to pull that trigger, we're ready to rock. So it's time to do that again. Questions?
It's pretty rote. I guess we need to read the whole resolution because it doesn't have a summary. But, and is that microphone working?
I think so.
Yeah.
I probably just wasn't close
Okay,
enough.
good deal. Well, unless there have any questions, we'll read the resolution.
The summary would be good.
There is no summary.
I just gave it. Thank you.
This is a state resolution, so it's a boiler made for everybody. So.
I
Where-
worked on a summary.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas KRS 39B.010, Section 1, KRS 39B.030.3, KRS 39C.0503, and applicable Kentucky administrative regulations requires the development and maintenance of a local emergency operations plan which sets forth the local government organizational structure, policies, procedures, and guidelines for the management and coordination of all disaster and emergency response in Henderson County and its cities. And whereas KRS 39B.0303, KRS 39B.0602, KRS 39C.0503, applicable Kentucky administrative regulations and planning guidance issued by the Kentucky Division of Emergency Management require the local emergency operations plan be officially approved and adopted by signed resolution of the Henderson County Judge Executive. And whereas the Director of the Henderson County Office of Emergency Management has submitted the Henderson County Emergency Operations Plans to the County Judge Executive for official approval and adoption in accordance with the aforementioned laws, administrative regulations, and planning guidance. Now therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive, by the virtue of powers and authorizes vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, in accordance with the provisions of KRS 39A to 39F, applicable Kentucky administrative regulations, and the Henderson County Emergency Management Ordinance, do hereby order and direct the following. 1. The Emergency Operations Emergency Operations Plan is officially approved and adopted in the emergency support function format effective the date of this resolution shown herein. 2, the conveyance of the official approval and adoption of the Henderson County Emergency Operations Plan through this resolution shall remain continuously in effect from the date of the resolution as shown herein or until superseded by a subsequent resolution promulgated in accordance with KRS 39B.0303, KRS 39B.0602, KRS 39C.0503, applicable Kentucky administrative regulations and planning guidance issued by the Kentucky Division of Emergency Management. A copy of the officially approved and adopted Henderson County Emergency Operations Plan, including this resolution, shall be placed on file for public inspection during regular office hours in the Henderson County Office of Emergency Management.
After that scintillating rendition, I'm going to get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next resolution is our annual Animal Control Services Agreement, and this would be with the Humane Society of Henderson County, and agreement we must execute every year. This will be for the extent of our fiscal year. There is a 30-day out clause if we so choose, but for right now, this resolution affirms our agreement for the next fiscal year and at the rate that we approved in the budget to support them. Are there any questions about it? Questions? Any augmenting information? So, if you would like the clerk to read the entire thing, we can. Or if you would like the summary, we can.
Summary.
Yeah, of course, this is a short one anyway. So.
Yeah.
Resolution authorizing the Henderson County Judge Executive to execute the attached Animal Control Services Agreement with the Humane Society of Henderson County Incorporated.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I didn't see Melissa Fambro. Come on up.
Hey, Stacy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't think you have to worry about hearing my loud mouth, so I think we wouldn't even need that if it's not working. My name is Stacy McCord Crooks. I am now Vice President of the Humane Society of Henderson County. Got some stats for you and then some other just good information. Year-end numbers, we brought in 348 strays, 143 reclaimed, 113 owner surrenders. Out of 318 animals that were surrendered and not reclaimed, we adopted out 284. Or adopted or transferred to rescues, 284. So that was a good number. Now we just hope we don't get them back, because that seems to be a revolving door sometimes. People don't understand they need some time to relax. City county tags have actually doubled. So the online, us putting it online, and then WSON, Bill and I just hammering it out there, went from $294 to $696. So we're on a roll. So that's good. So anybody needing city county tags for your dogs, just go online. We have reserve dollars for truck and have set for a new truck for animal control. We have several people out there searching, helping us search for a right truck, obviously. Once we find one we feel is suitable, then we will bring it to fiscal court for approval. So we're out there looking. The shelter upgrades, we're doing new paint throughout the shelter, and we're getting a new heat and air unit, which is going to help with diseases throughout the shelter, which has been a common problem throughout the years of, just spreading So, and after starting the Humane Society of Henderson County Equine Division, our animal control equine calls have almost gone away. I guess, you know, they know somebody's out there now holding people, you know, more accountable. Since I've been doing horse calls with animal control since 2011, this is unreal. And of course, Bill and I did a lot of education. I put out there, you know, to help people get through winter. A lot of it is on education that we went on calls, but then a lot of it was just flat out, you know, neglect. But we were going on calls monthly for the last, oh gosh, I would say 10 years. And they started slowing a little, but then they started picking back up. But since we started the equine division in the beginning of 2022, we have literally been out on 3 calls. So that is, yeah, so I guess now they know, they feel a little more held accountable when you've got a whole division there backing up animal control. So I think that's helped a lot, so. And then
I think
education.
you're right, too, in your assessment, because I remember when Laura and you were really trying to push that, because we was having some with the horse population, some
Oh,
of it
yeah.
just being totally neglected and everything.
Yeah,
So,
and Laura and
yeah.
I were the only horse rescues
Only-
in town, and they wanted us to
Right,
take them
so-
all, and, you know, there's only so much we can do, and donations are far and few between, and, I mean, it's my husband and my paycheck, so it's hard to
But-
pull a lot, yes.
Appreciate what you and Laura done, or started, and it seems like you've grown it. So,
Thank you.
good
Yeah,
job.
she's actually retired now from it,
I know, I hadn't
so,
talked to her in a
so
while,
it's
so.
just me.
Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much. Any questions or concerns?
We have the full complement of animal control officers now.
We are going to be looking for a third one. We are working on that in a professional manner and getting things taken care of, and they will not be there anymore.
Gotcha.
Okay, so, well, they're not there.
Yeah.
So we are doing
One
it.
opening, yeah.
Huh?
We got one opening and we're ready to.
We have one opening, yes. And then I would like to try to put together a proposal for you guys to, on some things, and that Steve and I talked about, to try to help us get some, maybe some better candidates. So Steve and I discussed doing some proposals for that and some ordinances that might help us with so many animals coming in or something. So I'm going to start working on that.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go over a couple reconciliations with the detention center, and for that, I'd like, wouldn't mind Jailer Bruce Todd coming up and helping us talk through it. And Lori Quarles.
He brought the boss today.
So there are 2 accounts separate from the jail budget that the jail keeps. One is the canteen account, so-called canteen account, and the other is the inmate account reconciliation. If you would briefly describe to the new magistrates what these 2 funds are, what these 2 accounts are.
Okay, the inmate trust account is the
We need to-
inmate.
Lori,
I'm
can you
sorry.
scoot over to the mic? There you go.
The inmate trust account is the inmate commissary deposits. So family, friends, they put money on their accounts. That's what that is. And then the jail canteen is a account that is for the betterment of the inmates. It can only be used for that. We pay our commissary out of that. We collect the money from the inmate trust account for commissary sales and any commissions, things like that. That goes back into the canteen account as well. But anything inmate related that is needed for them, like, you know, there's a list there. So anything like that, that's what we spend it on. It's the inmates.
Let me summarize that again a little bit. So the inmate account is money put in by inmates' families or the inmates themselves, and they use that to spend money on the commissary for
Yeah, they
extra.
put money on their books so they can buy
Yeah.
their a la carte
And the
items.
jail is tasked with making sure you keep the balances, keep track of that, reconcile it, make sure everything's as it should be. And then the canteen account is the profit from the canteen when inmates go buy things from there. And then that money, as you mentioned, can be used for a variety of things, all basically under the umbrella is aiding inmates. And that can include education, skill training, or things that provide them with skills that they may use after they leave.
Good program.
It's fairly broad, but it is a way to provide money to help the jail and its prisoners that is not coming out of their normal county budget, which helps. So, am I accurate in saying all that?
Very much.
Anything you want to say about these particular accounts now and the totals or anything like that before we vote on the reconciliation? I guess we have to accept the reconciliation. You see the balance in canteen, 2.31 million and change. Is that correct?
Correct.
Total funds available. And that amount is pretty typical, 2.32.
Yeah, it's up and down.
Yeah.
Just depends.
So, for instance, just giving a couple examples, and you can add to this list too, Lori. When the jail organized building what became the parole office out on the corner of Borax and South Green Street, many of the inmates helped build the building.
Correct.
And some of the money was used to help augment the building of that building because the inmates were learning carpentry skills and construction skills on that project that they could use once they left jail. That's one example.
Correct.
Recreational things too as well. So, anything to add? But
No, sir.
with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the reconciliation of the canteen account for
So move.
2022-23.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I will also entertain a motion to approve the 2022-2023 inmate account reconciliation.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now we have our detention center reports, which are in your packet. And if you want to talk about those a little bit, Bruce.
Yes, still going well. We've got 161 county, 147 state, and 169 feds. Feds are up. We've got a call from the U.S. Marshal who would like to provide us with some more feds, so that's good. We'll be having a discussion with them. The facility, we got an air conditioner that's been out for probably a couple of weeks. We're waiting on a compressor. I asked them to expedite that, and I think it's in. So we'll be installing that. It's an old unit. It's in A-Hall, and we're going to get quotes on probably looking at purchasing a new one. Because we've put a lot of money in that in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at that. We got another one that's probably due pretty soon, maybe. We're trying to keep them going as best we can. So, and Snodgrass is doing a pretty good job. We're looking at body scanners now. We're getting on that pretty heavy now. We're going to go visit a couple of facilities and try to make sure we get the best one. We've got a couple in mind. So we'll be looking at body scanners. We're looking at, talked with a Class D coordinator yesterday. We're going to start a male MRT class. So he's looking at, we'll be getting some. I think we're going out today to round up some counties and secure some more male inmates. So we'll be doing that here in the next, as soon as we can.
You said MRT.
MRT.
What does that stand for?
It's a class like it provides like anger management or some drugs, some personal living for males. And we already have the female SAP program and MRT. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so we'll be doing that. And when they graduate, the state pays us $1,000 for each graduation person that graduates. So
Good. Excellent.
Bruce, how long is that class?
that class is about 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
It's a class that if you know, you may have 8 people in there and one will finish early. They don't graduate all at the same time, so the state requires that we at least have 8 people. So when somebody graduates, then we'll find another one that takes his place. So it's not 8 people graduate at the same time.
Thank you.
And then there was a class that we're looking at that the individual that does well in that class, they'll be a mentor. They'll start mentoring the other class. That's another
Sounds good.
program. So
I noticed with what are the numbers up for both state and
Numbers-
federal inmates? I noticed that was
this
pretty
morning-
significant uptick, if I remember
This was
correctly, which is a
yesterday, and
positive
it's 508, and we had this morning it was 512.
thing. So we're getting quite a few more. All your efforts of going and trying to
Yeah,
recruit
we're trying to
federal and
get-
state inmates is paying off there.
Right.
Okay.
And then, of course, the rocket docket will eventually be going there. That'd be good. Appreciate Steve and Herb on that.
Should be in place next week, actually,
Well, good.
up and running.
That's good for everybody, you know, county, state.
And the purpose of Rocket Docket, the ultimate benefit of Rocket Docket for us is that it allows people not to have to stay in county jail
Correct.
longer waiting trial. It gets them processed quicker and out of our jails.
So the classes you're talking about, can they be in the class and not be in jail? So it's for only the people
It's
that's,
only for inmates, yeah.
so the ones we letting out can't,
Yeah, they can't.
like the rocket docket thing. If we let them out of jail, they're not gonna be able to be in that class.
Right.
So Jailer, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
So, a lot of the programs that they have at the jail and prisons, those are for people that have already been sentenced.
Mm.
Okay.
They typically aren't eligible for those programs until they've been sentenced by the court. What Rocket Docket does is it reduces that amount of time that somebody is in jail pre-sentence. Okay, so once they get sentenced, sometimes they're through Rocket Docket or any other program, they might be headed towards some sort of treatment facility or something like that, or they will be in, if depending on how long they're going to be in, they might be in long enough to participate in moral recognition therapy or any of the other programs that they have out there, substance abuse programs, things like that.
Okay.
So it's, Rocket Docket's pre-sentence generally and speeds up the sentencing. The programs that they've got out there are generally post-sentence programs.
Since they are. Okay.
Did I get that right, Jalen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You did.
That's what
Thank
I
you.
thought everything was.
Thank y'all.
Any other questions for Jailer Todd?
I do have one quick question about the GED program. I think we've talked about, and you've really been trying to step that up even more. Could you use some more help from maybe outside volunteers to be proctors for those taking those
Yeah,
classes?
I think so. The college is, community college has helped us on that. We got a couple that's teaching GED, so. We
'Cause that's
should have some
important, I think.
graduations here pretty soon. We'll have some graduation in SAP coming up pretty soon also.
If we have no more questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the detention center reports.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you, Jailer Todd.
You also have in your packets the sheriff's monthly report, the regular report. If you wanted to review those, do so, but in the meantime, I'll entertain a motion to approve the sheriff's monthly report.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. Thank you. Renisa, County Clerk Renisa Abner.
She's our favorite. She's my favorite.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today I have the monthly, the calendar year, second quarter totals, and the 2022-2023 fiscal year total of payments submitted to the county. So I know y'all have heard, our reports are all geared, as the sheriffs are, on a calendar year versus the county as a fiscal year. So anyway, it kind of makes it confusing sometimes with the reports. But anyway, for June, we have excess fees in the amount of $131,798.98, with a total submitted to the county of $190,626.38. Quarterly, we have $386,602.70, for a total submitted to the county for that quarter of $556,189.13. Comparing this quarter to the same one in 2022, we show an increase of about $9,500 in excess fees. And for closing out 2022-2023 fiscal year that just ended, we submitted $2,144,101.80 to the county. And that is a decrease of about $15,000 compared to what we submitted the prior fiscal year.
Any particular thing stand out in that decrease of 15,000?
Well, we had a decrease in ad valorem tax and transfer tax as well. So I'm attributing it to that. So in the scheme of things, it's not a huge number, but yeah.
Entertain a motion.
Any questions?
Move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept all three reports. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Nathan.
Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got several checks today. Jail fees, $270. Aflac payment, $171.16. Dental and life, $472.98. Health insurance, $10,136, and interest in the amount of $7.44, bringing today's total to $11,057.58, and the total for the fiscal year to $22,484.29.
Judge, I would move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the county attorney's report. Any questions of Steve? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And with that, I'll call up Treasurer Ryder. We have several little bits of business.
You have received a copy of the annual statement, annual settlement for fiscal year '23. This is mandated by KRS that be presented at the end of the fiscal year. There are 5 sections to this report. The first is a statement of revenues, which is the annual total revenues by account for each fund. The second is statement of appropriations, which is the annual total of appropriations by departmental account number for each fund. The third is a statement of assets, which is bank account balances for each fund. Fourth is a statement of receipts, which is annual receipts for each fund. And fifth is the statement of claims, which is the total paid to each vendor for each fund.
I hope you had a chance to review all that.
Judge, I know we talked about it yesterday in the Finance Committee with Tim, myself, and you, and we found everything to be in order.
I think it's safe to say we finished a very solid fiscal year. Worked out as we'd hoped or better, so all good. I'll need a motion to accept the
So moved.
report.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any other questions of Treasurer Ryder? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have some fund transfers?
Yes, you have received the fund transfers, and these are as presented, and this is redistributing appropriations within the existing budget. This being early in the fiscal year is due to the underestimating of one-time-a-year payments.
Yeah, workers' comp.
Workers' comp, yes.
Specifically. We make a guess, and then they send us the bill, and we adjust from there. But we weren't too far off.
No, we were pretty close.
Any other questions about transfers?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And we have some claims.
Yes, you have received your bank balances, and after paying claims today, the day-to-day appropriation line should be at approximately 8%. You will notice that some are at 100%, and that is due to once-a-year invoice payments, typical property insurance, annual dues, and that sort of thing. I do have additional claims. From the general fund to Geo Plant, $4,515. This is for an annual subscription of crisis track management software for EMA and is to come from the EMA supplies appropriation line. From the jail fund to Republic Services, $784.13. This is for monthly service and is to come from the contracted services other appropriation line.
Judge, I would make a motion to pay the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions on claims? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And just for the record, Judge, we did review the claims yesterday as well, so.
Yeah,
Yes.
Finance Committee. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have any old business, although I will say with Nick Stallings in the room, as we get closer to the start of the construction of a couple of these solar farms, Nick is currently working with one of the companies, and I'm sure we'll be working with other companies as this arises, about potential oversized and overweight and overwidth trucks moving in on county roads to help transport some of the larger pieces of these solar farms, such as transformers, and to make certain that we are protected in case they do any damage to any of our roads. He's going to be working with permitting these loads, putting some guidelines around the permits, and making sure that either through a per-trip fee, perhaps, or a bond of some sort, perhaps, that we are protected and make sure we have enough money to fix anything that might be broken. We don't anticipate that there'll be much of any damage at all, but you never know. So
Yeah, we rode those roads yesterday and had that very discussion, so.
yeah, so Nick is working with Steve Gold and the companies to come up with that final permit language and make sure they understand what their responsibilities are.
Judge, I did some quick legal research since you asked that question right before court. I do believe it, if you wanted to, it may be appropriate to see if the court wanted to delegate the authority to Nick to be able to issue those permits and
I think-
bond requirements.
I think that'll speed that whole process up. So I'm sorry.
I did have one question about what Nick and I were talking about. Of course, he was working with you guys. I know it's still early, but about the policing or accountability, if you will. How have we got an idea of how we're going to monitor or execute that?
Nick is working on that right now.
Okay, so that's still okay.
Use some maybe means like photography or things like that to make sure we know the before and then.
Well,
compare
yeah,
the
and I was
after.
thinking personnel. I was like, maybe is that going to fall under a Randy Tassett umbrella, or I didn't know how we were going to execute that.
Well,
think-
I've just in the last few minutes, I've been doing some legal research based on some questions the judge asked me. There is a county ordinance about overweight vehicles on county roads.
Right. And that's the
and
reason I asked that.
The only exemptions it has are for school buses at this time. That's why I was mentioning that, if the court wanted to delegate some authority to Nick to issue permits for industrial situations, similar to what the state does, that would be appropriate. As far as enforcement, the state enforcement is done by CVE, Commercial Vehicle Enforcement, which is part of KSP. But I believe, and I don't know if we have anybody from the Sheriff's Department in here to, there's, well, yeah. Does the Sheriff's Department have the appropriate scales to do roadside weighing? I know KSP does. No. Okay. But that would be typically, they do have, there are roadside scales that can be done.
Right, yeah.
On site.
Yep.
I think what I'd asked Steve earlier is if we could basically give Nick the go-ahead to set the parameters, set whatever financial consideration would be put in place to make sure that we are made whole, and perhaps work on whatever might be needed to enforce, in his opinion, enforce this. Go ahead and give him the blessing now so he can make sure it gets done expeditiously. If we waited until he brought it back, we'd still be depending on his expertise, and it would just take more time. So I'd entertain a motion to give Nick Stallings the go-ahead to set the parameters, set the fees, if any, and handle enforcement.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Nick, anything you want to add to that discussion? Okay.
Just to clarify, I assume that within setting the parameters would be setting appropriate bonding amounts for the carrier.
Yeah.
Correct. I just
Exactly.
want to make sure that's clear.
You feel comfortable with that, Nick?
Let the record show the county engineer nodded in affirmation.
He is unflappable, then.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
So, we got the pipeline coming in as we speak. Will they fall under this too?
Potentially. I don't know if they plan any overweight loads, but Nick might check in with them, or if you know of any contact information.
And some of it depends on how close something is to a state road. If they've received a state overweight or overwidth permit, they can be within certain distances. They can be on local roadways if they have one of those state permits. Is that
Yes,
correct?
we've, I've met with the folks with the pipeline. Boardwalk is redoing the pipeline from Mount Vernon, Indiana, going down to Big Rivers. They're crossing they have 27 road crossings in the county alone. I told them I got to defer mine from the state roads to their deal, to get a hold of the state folks. But what I did was I went through each crossing and gave them my recommendation, whether it be open cut or bore. They're going to try to bore everything they can. They bore everything they can. It's going to do zero, interference with our road. If they come back and say they can't bore for whatever reasons, either side grades, elevations, then at that point in time, I will do each crossing as a bonded crossing, and then give them a permit for that crossing. That way, they got to put it back to where it was at, the condition it was in before they started. They haven't given me any load any load determinations, what they're going to be hauling, how long the load's going to be, what their length of pipes are. That we haven't got into yet. It's still in the. Right now, they're doing the work on their laydown yard, which I approved all that work out there, but I have not done anything with their loads on bringing the pipes, which seems to be the issues with the long trucks and the long turn radiuses last time they came in to town. So that's what I'm looking for now. So
Thank you.
yep.
So we have a motion and a second on allowing Nick to proceed, setting guidelines on those permits. Have any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will start to go to the county with my friend Mary Dunham. You have guests with you. Would you like to introduce them? You might come up to the mic, please. Sorry about that.
If you have not heard, we do have the GAIN program in town now, and that is a program that we came to Judge Schneider and Mayor Staten and asked if we could bring it over here. The GAIN program stands for Getting Ahead in a Just Getting By World, and it is in every state and several countries. It is great curriculum. We did one pilot class at AKZ, Autumn and Kids Zone, with all her employees. And then Susan Sauls and myself co-facilitated the first class. And we had 8 graduates that graduated in January, I believe. in January. No, it was May. We started in January. So it's 16 weeks, one night a week for 16 weeks. And we have 11 modules, and it's just simply how to get ahead, how to get involved in your community, and that's where we are now. This group is with the summer group. We have 6 people in a summer group, and instead of one night every week for 16 weeks, we are doing a Monday, Friday for 8 weeks to get through the summer. So we have 6 total that will graduate in 2 weeks from this class, and we simply form a group. The first group is they finished their class, they've graduated, and now they're in what the phase is called staying ahead, so we still meet once a month instead of once a week. This group will join them, and we just build social capital. We learn how we can assess our community, what some of our community needs are, and those that could make it today, we're doing the whole day. We're doing Lions Club, and then we'll do the city. Miss Rosemary Taylor is with us. She is also now a trained GAIN facilitator. She's part of Greater North Baptist Church, and Reverend Johnson is wanting to start a GAIN program there. So now we have 6 GAIN facilitators in the city. It cost about $850 a family to put through this, but it's lasting results. Rosemary's worked for our school system for 20 years. She works at East Heights, and she will be going back to school. The other man that could join us has just graduated from high school. His sister was in the first class, and sometimes when I'm reading, he corrects my pronunciation of some of the words. He is 18 years old, but he is set to get into housing, start his life, so he's just he wants to absorb everything he can. So thank you for having us. Again, thank you for your contribution to the GAIN program. We're going to keep it going. The dates for the next group of 16 weeks will be probably announced in the next week or so. That will be at Audubon Kids Zone. So between Audubon Kids Zone, the Love Your Neighbor Project, and now GAIN, we're all 3 there and getting ready to do some things from infancy all the way through family. So thanks for
Mary,
having
could
us.
I ask you, do you
Sure.
have a waiting list of people willing to participate in your GAIN
I
program?
do.
That's
And
great.
only because it's so new. And so I do have a stack of applications. It is an application-only program.
Correct.
Because it's very hard to commit to 16 weeks, one night a week. But it will go back to the weekly schedule. We have an evening meal with the families. We do have childcare at AKC, and that's going to help a lot. So just budget, working in your community, finding a good job. Right now from the first class, we still have 3 folks there getting driver's license. It just takes a long time because I'm working with Voc Rehab, and then they turn that over to the Department of Labor, and Montre starts his training tomorrow for driver's training. So it takes a while. It's just an ongoing group that stays together, and we keep everybody accountable. So any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Not the most exciting docket today, but all important stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of.
All important stuff. With that, I'd like to bring up Kenny Garrett again. And you are receiving a nice grant.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Okay, so late June, we heard of and applied for a grant from the Community Foundation of Western Kentucky for a new drone. And so we have that approval, and basically, just to give you a little bit about it, the $15,689.70 that we've been granted will be for a newer, better drone than what we've had, and what we still have. It has a great thermal capability, which is industry standard. It can see people, it can see animals at 400 feet, as small as cats or whatever. So it'll see people, it'll see deer, and it's just a wonderful tool for us. We'll use it for search and rescue. We'll use it for accident reconstruction. We'll do all kinds of things with it. It has a 200 times zoom versus a 16 times zoom. So I mean, I can go a long ways out and see things clearly. It has a tool called Flight Hub 2, which this tool will allow me to put an app on yours or anyone's phone that we want to put on there. That way you can monitor what we're doing and when we're flying something. So I can put that in incident commander's hands when I'm in the air flying, and they can see actually what we're doing. So it's a great tool for information sharing and all those kinds of things. It's considered the industry-wide standard for first responders, and is widely considered the very best drone on the market.
So that's real-time sharing via the cellular network?
Say again?
Real-time sharing via the cellular network?
Not in the United States yet, but it has the capability. If the FAA ever decides that we can do it, it's there. Right. We can turn it on. Conversely, we also have the ability to turn off the internet side of it so that we can be more secure, because there's some concerns out there about security. We're aware of that, and all we have to do is flip a switch in flight mode, and we can turn it off so that if we're over anything sensitive that doesn't need to be sharing out to the rest of the world, we turn that off, and there's no problem there. So that's all been built in. It's got the new RFID process in there for law enforcement, so that if we're up there and they want to know who's up there, they can point a device at it, and it'll tell them exactly where the person is flying it from, and they can come right to us and ask us for a license and things like that. So all those security features are included. I brought with me today, of course, everybody knows Jill, and I've got over here to my right, I've got Dr. Chris Dawkins. I'm going to have her come up here in just a minute. She's the Chief Operating Officer of the Community Foundation for Western Kentucky, and she's here to give her presentation. So I'll let Dr. Dawkins come up. I'll hold the check.
Thank you. This isn't so much about us, it's about them and the amazing work that they're doing. But my name is Chris Dawkins, and I'm the COO of the Community Foundation of West Kentucky. After the disaster tornado came through in December 2021, that tornado had cut a path diagonal through our service area, all the way from Henderson down to Fulton County. With the generosity of donors across the nation, we were able to step in and were positioned to help all the communities in their mid and long-term recovery. We funded temporary housing such as container homes. We pulled 1.2 million pounds of debris out of Kentucky Lake. We supported the startup of 12 long-term recovery groups who were able to coordinate over $36 million worth of resources into the hands of survivors. We have funded numerous home repairs and rebuilds, several different projects, and we're kind of moving forward into the idea of preparedness and awareness and response for our next disaster. We're well aware that we sit on the New Madrid Fault, and that's concerning to us because when something happens there, the abundance of resources that we saw this time, they will go south of us. We will not be the epicenter. And so our message right now to our communities is building resiliency in our processes and our procedures, not only for response, but also educating our communities about that long-term recovery, which is something, frankly, we were all unaware of prior to this event. So I was at an EM training about communities and recovery, and I came across Kenny and Jill, and we started talking, and I was so incredibly impressed, not only that they helped their neighbors out in a time of need, but that they also were learning lessons by watching what the others were going through. And they were taking those lessons and creating models, and then sharing those models out with other communities as to how they could be better prepared. And when they shared with us the story of their drone, this is exactly the type of thing that we were looking for to support. We have no doubt that Kenny and Jill will be there not only for Henderson, but they'll be there for their neighbors and anybody else who might have need with use of this drone too. So we are very proud of them, and thank our EMs in Henderson and across the state, for all the help that they've given our communities in this recovery.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
And a big thanks for what they have donated here. Ms. Chris Dawkins Dr. Chris Dawkins, she's often referred to as Doc. So in registering our new drone, then we were supposed to give it a nickname. So we've nicknamed it after her, calling it Doc.
I'm used to being on the other side of the table in this and giving those naming opportunities away, but I'm very humbled and appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
We had a lot to do with the recovery. I was just telling her I kind of felt like a drone at this regional level, going through the gaps and trying to figure out how to solve problems. So thanks for that.
And this is definitely going to solve a lot of things. Like Kenny was saying, whether we're doing accident reconstruction, sometimes law enforcement needs a big overall view of an incident. Then we get those photos for them. We also do, disaster aftermath footage for FEMA. Search and rescue. This drone that we're getting can actually see through the foliage of the trees that we have to see through in the summer and of course fall, but it's a much better camera on it. Like they said, 200 zoom by 16. So anyway, but we sure hope to continue to serve our community and help in the greatest emergencies that we all have. So thank you.
Good deal.
Once we get the drone in, we will probably schedule a time to come back and do a show and tell in the next couple of weeks to the court. So we'll bring it in here and show it. I won't fly it, but we'll bring it in and let you see it.
And we'll take a picture after court if you want to hang out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
I
much.
want to see it fly. But
We'll do it outside.
Yeah. Look in the window.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, very much.
Anything else for good of the county for any members of our audience? With that, we'll go around the horn, and Mr. Starks, Magistrate Starks, I'll begin with you.
Thank you, Judge. I'll be very brief today. I just want to thank everyone for being here. You can see we deal with just the gamut of issues, everything from solar energy to accounts for our inmates out at the county jail. So appreciate all of our hardworking staff and also our partners, other elected officials here. Appreciate all that you do. Sandy Lee Song Fest is underway this week, so come out. I'm going to be helping to introduce some of the artists Thursday night over at Rookies, so I invite you to come out. And it's always a great weekend, and glad to have those folks back in town. Bluegrass in the Park is going to be soon right after that, and so I'll let Keith tell you more about that. And just want to remind folks, today is one of the days our farmers market is open out at the fairgrounds. So take advantage of that. They've got so much great produce and fresh fruits and all locally grown. So and a lot of value-added products out there as well. So don't forget them. New school year is about to start. Ready Fest, I think, is going on right now as we speak. So that means the Big Yellows will be back on the road, so be careful. And I know the students don't want to hear this, but I'm actually looking forward to the start of school because I miss our students who come in as the Judges Scholars. And I think it'll be soon after the start of the school year, I'll be hosting the first one of the first ones for lunch. So I'm looking forward to that. And just make it a safe start to school for everyone, I hope. And with that, I'm done. I think everything's good in the fifth, Judge.
Thank you. Magistrate Berry.
Thank you, Judge. Real quick on the Bluegrass in the Park, August 11th and 12th. Breakfast in the Park is on the 12th, and we'll have music. I think Casey Todd, I believe, is going to provide the breakfast, and Maggie Hollis is going to do the entertainment. I don't know if anybody came last year, but she's great. So she'll be there from 8 to 10:30, I think. Bill and I are going to do the MC on Saturday. A lot of that.
Attempt to do.
And the judge, I know the judge and Steve does some too, but so you get to see us down there. But it's a good time. Come out, bring your family. Hope the weather's good, but it should be good for all. It's a good festival. Also, thank Nick for Jason Avenue. Jason, they had quite a chore over there to get that fixed and figure it out, but that was it looks good. So thank you for that, and I'll see you Friday to look at my roads. Community Foundation, we thank you again for the money for the drone. I know Kenny and Jill will use that wisely. That's a good tool. I know the sheriff's office had. You still have one, don't you, Anthony? They're it's a great asset. So thank you again for that. With that, District 1's good. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Gold.
Great to see everybody here today. Good to see the GAIN program going strong and growing. Just want to give a shout out to our county engineer, Nick. I've been working with him a whole lot the last few weeks, and he does an excellent job. He's really taken to it and really doing great things. So thank you for all you do, Nick. Otherwise, all's good in the county attorney's office.
Excellent. Magistrate Putman?
Thank you, Judge. Ditto. I don't want to repeat it. Mary, again, great job. I'm glad it's going well for you. And Reverend Johnson, always nice to see you, sir, as well. And all is good in the fourth.
Magistrate Tompkins?
Echo the county attorney's comments. Nick does an outstanding job, and I tell people all the time how fortunate we are to have an engineer who is so engaged and so well balanced. Not only does he know the engineering, but he understands the applications, which is a rare thing. He loves Henderson County, which is important to me as well, and he's highly engaged, so I really appreciate Nick. So also, equally as impressive to me is I love seeing young people like this young man out here being engaged, and I promise you, the efforts that you're putting forth, life's never going to be easy, but people who work hard and work smart have it a little bit better. So proud of you. Continue on, and thank you for all the help that you provide. That's right. That's all you can do, my friend. So we're proud of you. That all's good in a second.
Thank you. Magistrate Southern?
It's always great to go last.
You don't have to say much, Tim.
Right. It's yesterday in our finance meeting, I put the judge on the spot here. I think we found a little more money for some maybe extra blacktop. So we might get to extend out what we had picked for our spots. So Nick, got more money coming your way. With that said, again, thank y'all, and good job, man. Just
Absolutely.
Hang in there and do. You follow her and you'll succeed, I promise. And thank you for the grant. Kenny, he's spot on. He makes things happen. Thank y'all. And all's good in District 3.
Judge, can I say one more thing, if you can? Mary, I forgot. I was writing notes as Bill was speaking, because he usually gives me about 5 minutes to make my notes, because he's a radio guy. So he was quick today, so I had to stop. And I thank you. I forgot to mention you guys, and thank you, young man. I did. I was just getting to that, and Bill quit, and I thought, now I get all my notes.
Well, we are planning some more money for our asphalt. As you remember, during the budget discussion, we set a certain amount of money, I believe $700,000 for asphalt, and then intended to take some ARPA funds that were left over from last year, rolled into this year's budget, and put them back towards that asphalt line number, and hopefully get it well up over $1 million. Because of some technicalities, we're not going to be able to use the ARPA funds to do it, but because of what happened in the budget last year, we ended up with more in road fund carryover than we anticipated. So we have the ability to amend in our budget approximately $400,000, not approximately, $400,000 into the budget to put towards the asphalt. And as you know, we also opt to keep our flex funds from KYTC this year, so that amount will also, I will propose to be applied starting next meeting to the asphalt line item. So once again, we will be spending well over $1 million on asphalt, and I think I've heard more than one magistrate indicate how much of an impact our recent spending on asphalt has made on county roads. That they are looking good. It's a never-ending battle. It's a ongoing activity of the county as long as we have roads. But to know that they're getting better over time, and that we're able to create the resources to devote to them, not only makes the ride smoother but safer. And good roads save people's lives and help public safety, and that's part of our charge. And I will give complete credit to that renewed emphasis on keeping our roads in good shape to Magistrate Southard and other members of the panel here, Magistrate Berry, for pushing that in years past and continuing to. We always have to weigh resources versus needs, but I think we've done a good job of making progress there, and we'll continue to. I echo everything that's been said about our friends from Gain, and best of luck. Keep working hard. The program will make a huge difference in the lives of many people. Also, compliments to Nick Stallings. I know life's been very busy for Nick, handling it well, my friend. We have some team members who are under the weather, battling some stuff that is, fairly serious, but I think they're pulling through. So just keep our team in your mind and your prayers. And that reminds me that on Thursday we're having the State of the City, State of the County luncheon, 11:30 a.m. at One Life Church. This is hosted by the Chamber of Commerce, our Henderson Lions Club, and Henderson Rotary. And I hope you all are able to attend. Check with Kurt to see if we have seats left. We have several tables devoted to our county team members. And I appreciate all the department heads who work with Darren Fegley to help produce a video that I'm going to utilize on Thursday to help recount the last 12 months in all of our departments. But the other thing we can do with this video is post it online on social media to remind the public what is going on with county government throughout the rest of the year, hopefully, or at least for several months. So we'll get plenty of mileage out of that, and I think people will enjoy seeing it on Thursday. With that, I have nothing else. Unless anybody has anything else for good of the county, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor can leave.